everybody. Welcome to New Straits Times news show where we sit, discuss, and talk about the news that trended. But we're going to go beyond that. So here with me, I actually have Hazwin Hassan, who is the news editor for NST. Welcome, Hazwin.
Thank you.
And to my right, I have Mr. Arjipal Singh. Arjipal Singh, I'm so sorry. Who is the sports editor for NST. Welcome, everybody. For this particular show, I think we're going to start it off with what made the front page. As you can see, there's a spending spike, at least that was announced by our AG. And Hazwin, maybe you want to highlight more about it?
Right, so the outlook generally from the Auditor General's office, Wan Suraya is our Auditor General, is pretty positive. Going into 2024, we are already at the end of this year. Despite the 1.39 trillion debt that we're in. It is obviously one of the highest, probably the highest one that we've recorded, and it's a 7.2% increase from the last 2 years in 2021. They're reporting a steady rise or increase in national revenue and GDP, and this has been the case, this has been the trend since the last 5 years. So this, hence, why we have this positive outlook. So I would say in general, the projection for the economy is, there's a pretty bullish forecast overall, and that's hopefully going to be the trend in the next few months, and especially so heading into the first quarter of 2024. So part of why the spending is increasing is that the government is going to introduce more incentives, namely cash incentives for employers, and this is to boost production, increase productivity, and to get employers to join the sort of the progressive wage bandwagon, get employees to increase employees' salaries, which eventually would hopefully translate as increased productivity. So the cash incentive is probably one thing to look out for, and definitely something that businesses, especially small SMEs, small medium enterprises, can benefit from, which is what that's the target group for these cash incentives. And this was announced by the Economy Minister, Rafizi Ramli, in a recent Parliament sitting.
So for those of you who might not know, we actually have a target. I think about in 2025, I think we're supposed to actually close that gap between our GDP as well as our wage share, right? Previous report also, we actually got in touch with MEF's own executive director, and he was also mentioning that these sort of incentives would be more fruitful for entrepreneurs, especially because at least more than 90% of Malaysian businesses are actually MSMEs, so they're small, medium enterprises. So it's pretty exciting, especially with budget coming up on Friday. That's at least on the spending and where the nation is at. So another news that made the headlines was the reintroduction of national service. So I'm not too sure if you guys are in agreement with it, but I personally did not go through national service. I think because it was, I wasn't chosen for it, I wasn't enrolled for it. But even during my time then, there were a lot of talks whether or not national service, what kind of impact had the program actually give back. So I would like to, I probably understand maybe from Ajipal's point of view.
I mean, I think it would be good to teach the students basic skills. They can learn basic skills, how to live independently, and then to improve unity and all those things. But of course, the previous PLKN, we had a lot of cases of fatalities, food poisoning, and there was one rape case in Terengganu. I think when I was working in Terengganu, I think back in 2001, 2002. So regulations have to be tightened, and there was issues of drowning as well.
The trust and the programs, I suppose. But of course, with this particular new introduction, apparently it's just now waiting for MKN's approval. It seems to me that it's actually going to happen, but the period for the national service itself has been reduced from 2 months, I believe, before this, to only 45 days. Now, like 45 days, do you think that is actually enough to, I don't know, instill discipline or this sort of like patriotism towards the country?
I think
what's the angle here?
These sort of virtues that you're talking about, it's obviously going to have to come from within. So the motivation has to be internalized. So if we're just going to focus on the external motivation coming from, I don't know, say rewards or what they can gain out of this, and see tangible results out of it, it's probably not going to go all the way through. You're not going to get like 100% like sort of return on it. I like you. I didn't go for the national service program. I think I was probably one of the first batches to have been, that this was tested out on.
Okay.
Probably was the trial period for the national service program at the time. So I can't really say much, based on experience because I don't have any. But I do think that the overall, the point of it is if you're trying to instill these virtues, these values, it really does have to come within. So if you ask me, it has to start from home.
Yeah, home,
Yeah,
schools.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of call for the government to also focus on civics as opposed to physical training itself. If the highlight is about civics, then it's actually defeating the purpose of what national service is all about. If we just look at our neighboring countries, right? So you just look at Singapore, they do national service for 2 years, but it's a way to defend the country of sorts, right?
Yeah.
So probably if we really want to look into implementing this, we have to actually look at all stakeholders and their considerations.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Especially,
Yeah.
and also the kids, I think. All right, so another thing that was also trending last week was the whole LCS scandal. Now, mind you, this LCS issue has been prolonged for many, many years. Maybe Hazwin, you can highlight in terms of what broke the news recently and what actually made the headlines.
Right. The deal with the LCS project is that now, while it has hit 9 billion ringgit spending, which is the highest and the biggest investment in spending by the Ministry of Defence by far, we were initially promised 6 LCS ships, 6 vessels out of this project. When it first sort of came to fruition, when the first talks of it happened, which was more than 10 years ago, right? So this thing has been brewing and it's been going on for at least the last 10 years, and we were supposed to get the first few ships, at least the first ship, probably about a couple of years ago. I think it was around 2019 when we were promised the first ship out of the 6. So that has been delayed to about a few years on, and then last year we were supposed to actually get the first, if not a few of those ships last year, August last year. That was the initial delivery date. But then it was then delayed again. So now what's happened? About 2 days ago, the Public Accounts Committee, or the PAC, has made the report on the LCS project public. What the report has revealed is that the delays now mean that the final ship, which has now come down to 5. So initially we were promised 6 vessels, 6 ships, right? Combat ships they are. LCS, if you don't know, for those of you who don't know, LCS stands for Literal Combat Ships. So we were promised 6, but now it's come down to 5. But the cost incurred now has risen to 9. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, has actually come up to around about 11 billion, based on the latest reports. So the irony is that while the number of ships have gone down, we're promised fewer than what we bargained for, what we were supposed to get, the spending has gone up.
Right, okay. All right, but I suppose for the whole LCS scandal, it's not just going to end today. We have to just follow the developments as we go. And definitely we'll be sharing more with you guys. But of course, why we're also here and why RGPOL is also here is because obviously the Asian Games just ended. It wrapped up last weekend. And we want RGPOL to also share with us what actually transpired throughout the whole entire event. It was a 2-week event, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
2 weeks.
It was a 2-week event. We had a team of reporters and 1 photographer there. So RGPOL, take it away.
Okay. Malaysia won a total of 32 medals, 4 fewer than the previous edition. But yet we have surpassed the target. I mean, the Youth and Sports Ministry set a target of 27 medals. I mean, no gold medal targets were given for the first time in the history of Malaysian sports, because according to them is that they don't want to pressure the athletes and all those things. So our question is, why do you want to lower the bar? Every time we are lowering the bar in Malaysian sports. The last Asian Games in 2018 in Indonesia, we won 36 medals. So they should be aiming for higher total number of medals here in China. But they won 32 and they are painting a rosy picture that we did well. And of the 6 gold medals we won, only 2 came from Olympic sports, which is not good. I mean, the gold medals were won in sailing and equestrian, which both sports are Olympic sports, but our athletes are not good enough to finish in top 3 in the Paris Olympics next year.
Right. But among the games that I was particularly disappointed by is actually one of it is like badminton and then also hockey, right?
Yes.
So okay, maybe we can go with hockey first. Like, what was the whole commotion behind the Speedy Tigers? They're Olympic, considered Olympic athletes, right? Team, right? But,
No, Malaysia has not qualified for the Olympics since 2000 Sydney
Okay.
for hockey.
Okay.
Okay, this time around they were confident of winning gold, but they finished 6th, which is a very poor result because a few weeks before that in the Asian Champions Trophy, whereby they played the same against the same teams, they finished 2nd behind India. So what happened in the Asian Games? The coach says it's because of the players' failure in terms of converting penalty corners and defending and all those aspects. So my guess is probably they revealed too much during the Asian Champions Trophy. The other Asian teams were there to learn and improve, but we showed everything during the Asian Champions Trophy. So when we came into the Asian Games, the other teams improved and we remain the same standard.
But if that were to be the case, then it means that actually other nations are looking at Malaysia as like a benchmark of sorts, if they are.
Yeah, of course, because Malaysia are ranked 2nd in Asia. Before the Asian Games, they were ranked 2nd in Asia, and now they are 3rd. But it's sad because they lost to Pakistan in the 5th, 6th playoff match. Pakistan's team is basically a new team of junior players, only 1 senior. Okay, China, they don't really emphasize on hockey. Probably there are 100, 200 players there. South Korea, hockey are played only in universities and all that, and there are a total of 6 clubs there, and yet we can't do better than all these teams.
And we want to go into the women's hockey as well. Our women's hockey is supposed to be also equally revered in that sense.
No,
right?
we have always finished 5th in the Asian Games, so they have met their target. We are way below the standards of India, Korea, Japan, China. I mean, no way we can touch those 4 teams yet. I mean, the problem is because we need a bigger pool of good players in Malaysia. They need to be exposed overseas because all the funding goes to the men's team, because men's team, so somehow, I know people say it's more prestigious if they achieve, and the women's team, they don't get enough funding to develop themselves as hockey players. The sad truth about our hockey team is that we got only a small pool of quality players, and none of the junior players who are preparing for the junior World Cup can walk into the senior team. So this is a major problem because our players in the senior team, some are in their mid-30s, late 30s, and they need to be replaced. And hockey is you need high level of fitness to sustain 60 minutes. Hockey is very fast and this and that. So the problem is, yes, of course, in Asia we are number 2, number 3, but in the world we are
Still behind.
still behind.
But anyway, on the hockey, like the players in themselves, they actually say they vow to redeem themselves in this road.
Qualifiers, in the qualifiers.
Qualifiers for the Paris Olympics.
But it will be tough because you will have European teams there. You will have,
While we are reporting what happened, the normal news day to day, but also we do come out, and as when I say we, Straits Times also do come out with reviews of how the games went, and stuff like that. But we were also met with a lot of public backlash, right?
Oh, yes,
in terms of what we are reporting.
Mm-hmm.
What's your stance on this?
I mean, we are reporting the truth. I mean, athletes are actually, the government are actually using taxpayers' money to develop athletes and all that. Of course, we should be allowed to question and all that. But of course, the fans out there, they have different views about it. I mean, everyone will have different views, about certain, a topic like Lee Zijia, he has hardcore fans. Whatever he posts on social media will get thousands of likes and comments and all that.
Yeah, so that brings us to this particular topic. So there was like apparently a truce that was put out while the games was still underway, and a truce between Lizija and the media itself. So I actually want to understand what actually went on behind there.
Okay, the thing I mean, for an athlete, it's quite taxing when, during any sports event, major games and all that, first, they have to speak to the right holders of the Asian Games. I mean, the right holders of the game, which is in Malaysia, it was Astro. Then there's other TV stations and all that. Then he goes to the reporters like us, like from NSD and all that. So probably, I mean, and all sessions there is a set time limit for it. So according to the volunteer, when he spoke to our Malaysian print media, he already it was past the time limit, and they told him to stop the interview lah. But I mean, if I were him, I would have just continued and and say just answer one last question and leave lah. But he just took off his mic and left. Some say that his sister instructed the volunteer to get him off the interview. So we are not sure.
What actually happened?
The CDM actually called me also, the chef de mission, saying that our athletes are there at the Asian Games to win medals. I mean we should just tone down things. I mean tone down our reports and all those things.
But what does that say about the integrity of the press then, if we're not able to provide
that's
that kind of independence in terms of reporting?
That's the thing lah. So I called the OCM special media officer and told him, let's solve this matter, get the CDM and Lizija's sister and relevant reporters and to sit together and solve this issue lah, and look forward lah. So I also spoke to our reporter there, just try to resolve the issue lah, and move forward.
My last question is that, like, was Lizija particularly mad at us specifically, or was it just at the way the organizer handled or organized press dealings?
Probably he wanted to avoid certain controversial questions and all that, which would put him under tremendous pressure. And I think that is the only thing. I mean, overall, he doesn't like to speak to reporters either.
Badminton itself, like, how do you think we performed?
I mean, if you look at it, they failed to meet their target. It was, I think, 1 silver, 2 bronze. They won only 1 bronze through the doubles pair who won the world title about 2 years ago, Aaron Chia and Midweek. All right. Lizija, Ng Viong, and the rest failed to go past the last 8 in the individual events. But if you look at the Asian Games, it's as tough as the World Championships. You put Denmark out of the equation, it's like a World Championships. So if Aaron Chia and Soik won a bronze medal, is as good as winning a bronze at the Olympics.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
One last thing.
Okay.
Road to Olympics. I'm sorry, you wanted to...
That's all.
Okay. I think we wrapped up Asian Games pretty well, but road to Olympics now.
Paris Olympics next year. Yes. Can we win medals?
I
mean, the government has set a committee known as the Road to Gold. I mean, this project is to help some of the elite athletes to be prepared and to be in peak condition to win Malaysia's first gold in Paris next year. But I don't think so that will happen. I mean, if we do win a medal, it will come from the badminton players.
One thing, let me just add, Paris better get rid of its bed bugs.
Yes, yeah.
It's such a big issue right now, yeah.
Yeah, and then on to world news, maybe just a quick wrap up before we end the show. So this increasing conflict between the Israeli forces and Hamas is actually continuing and intensifying.
I mean, it continues to make headlines ever since the attacks from Hamas. You know, it has been followed with the counterattacks from Israeli forces as well.
Yeah, I mean, the conflict has been there for many years,
Yes, yeah.
even on the daily. But of course, it's very disheartening for us to always report on this, even though it happens on the other side of the world. But of course, stay tuned to New Straits Times on print, online, as well as on social media. I would like to thank all my colleagues here, RG Paul Singh and Hazrin Hassan.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me today on this.
Okay,
first
thank you
episode.
very much.
Hopefully, we'll be back.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.